Good evening. It's Angela with the Mount Airy Public Library. Tonight we have a fairy tale, and Brack Llewellyn, our storyteller, is going to tell a story about a prideful daughter. All right, you ready? Let's settle down. Let's go.
All right, gather round one and all for an old English tale. This tale involves a character called a brownie. Now, I'm not talking about the brownies that you bake in the oven. These are little creatures that are kind of hobgoblin, actually, in English lore. And what a brownie can do is, a brownie can come to your house and do helpful things. Some brownies come and do chores around the house, clean the house, tend the garden. They always work at night. They don't want to get paid, but they do expect some kind of reward. So a lot of folks would leave little bowls, saucers of milk for them next to the fireplace, or some little small reward of some kind. You can't call it a payment. If you call it a payment, the brownie will leave. Now, brownies can be very helpful, but they're easily offended. If you hurt their feelings or make them angry, they'll leave your house, and you'll never get them back. So people are very careful, or were in the old days very careful, not to offend the brownie if they had one in their house, because they could be very helpful indeed. This particular brownie helped out in a little house, well, not unlike this one in the picture behind me. In this little house lived many years ago a couple and their daughter. Now, the daughter was about 13 or 14 years of age. They were a very nice couple, but the daughter could be quite prideful. She could be a little bit selfish and a little, I guess, full of herself. And her parents weren't sure how she became that way, because they weren't that way, and then try as they might, they couldn't change her. So she stayed prideful throughout her entire life, just a little bit. And that's what our story hangs on. This house and this family had a brownie. Now, this brownie was extremely helpful because this brownie loved to cook. Now, every night before the family went to bed, the mother would put out on the table an array of vegetables, some fruits, a bit of meat if they had it, some meals, some flour, a few other things. And when they got up the next morning, the brownie would have been there and would have made a beautiful pot of stew or a huge container of soup or some delicious dish or two, maybe even a dessert, maybe even a pie with a freshly made crust. So this was a very welcome brownie indeed, because he made wonderful food. This brownie's specialty was his bread. They loved the bread this brownie made. It was just a perfect loaf of bread. And to get up in the morning and smell that when you get up, coming from the kitchen. And the bread was just right, just the right color. The crust was just crispy enough to taste good. And when you opened it up, it was so tender and rich inside. It was delicious, even without jam on it. So they especially loved this brownie's bread. The daughter was a little bit jealous of the brownie and his ability to cook, because she couldn't cook at all. Not a thing. Not even the simplest dish. It all escaped her. Well, one day, the daughter and her mother and father were in the town nearby, and she overheard that there was a contest coming. The mayor of the town was holding a contest to see who could make the best bread. And the person whom he judged as having made the best bread got a couple of rewards. First of all, the mayor would take the bread and serve it to his family, which was a great honor. And he was giving away a beautiful gold ring with 4 precious stones, one for each point of the compass: north, south, east, and west. Beautiful ring, and the daughter, she wanted it so badly. But, as we said, she didn't know how to make bread. She didn't know how to make anything. But she knew someone who did. And she came up with a little bit of a plot. She decided that she would wait until the brownie made another loaf of his delicious bread. Then she would wrap it up and take it and enter it in the mayor's contest and claim it was her own. So what's wrong with that? Yes, that's dishonest. She was taking credit for something she didn't do, something someone else did, and expecting to win a prize for it. That's part of being prideful too, and a little bit selfish. So 2 days went by, and the brownie did not make bread. He made other delicious dishes, a beautiful pot of stew that the Family ate for a couple of days. Finally, on the third morning, the daughter got up first very early, and she smelled bread coming, the smell of baking bread coming from the kitchen. And she smiled, and she went into the kitchen, and there it sat on the table, the most perfect loaf of bread she'd ever seen. Oh, and it just smelled so delicious. So before her mother and father got up, she wrapped it up in a cloth and put it in a basket and headed into the town all on her own, which she normally did not do. And she entered this bread in the mayor's contest, saying it was her own, that she baked it with her own hands. And oh, she was up all night baking this bread, but she wanted it to be the best. Well, it turns out she won the contest. The mayor went on and on about how delicious this bread was. He sampled everybody's bread, a little pinch here, a little pinch there. When he got to the daughter's bread, he tried a pinch, then he tried a second pinch, then he broke himself off a huge piece of it and ate it. And so this is perfect. I'll be proud to serve this to my family. And you, young lady, have won the ring. And they presented her with this beautiful gold ring with 4 precious stones. Oh, she was so happy. She was so happy she forgot what she'd done was very wrong. And she went home. And her mother, being an observant mother, asked her where she got her new ring. First, the daughter told, a terrible tale. She said she'd found it. But her mother didn't believe her. She said, "Where did you get the ring?" She said, "Well, someone gave it to me." "Where did you get the ring, daughter?" So finally, realizing she couldn't fool her mother, the girl told the truth. She told the truth about how she had taken the bread the brownie had made the night before and entered it in the mayor's contest for her own and won first prize and won the ring. Her mother was horrified. If the brownie found out about this, they would lose him. So that evening, holding her breath, the mother spread out vegetables and a few bits of fruit they had, and some meal and some flour, and then a little bit of meat they had as well, and put it all out on the table as she always did, and went to bed hoping they would find their meal prepared the next day. But when they got up the next morning, can you guess what they found? Just the vegetables and the fruit and the little bit of meat, and there was the container of meal and flour, and nothing had been prepared. The brownie had heard what the daughter did, and he'd gotten angry and offended, and he'd left the house, and he was never coming back. This girl's prideful and selfish and dishonest act had cost them their brownie. And the consequences for her was this. She had to eat her own cooking for a long time, and she could not cook very well at all. And every bit of food she put in her mouth that she'd made herself, she regretted what she had done. But it was too late. The brownie was gone. So what did I learn from this story? Well, I've learned that being prideful and being selfish is wrong, and there are bad consequences for that. And doing something so dishonest, taking credit for something someone else has done, that's just terrible. No one should do that to anyone. Not another person, and certainly not a brownie. Now, I don't know if you have a brownie at your house. Maybe you do. But if you do, be very careful. Remember, they're easily offended, and they get angry easily, and they like to have a little saucer of milk every day, and then maybe another little reward. So treat them well, or you'll lose them. That's our story. Thank you for listening, and keep watching for future stories. We'll see you again soon.